Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. I hope you're ready to get wound up, because we're going to do another Academy Roundup tonight. This is something I like to do every few months or so, and basically show off the odds and sods of my collection. Things that aren't necessarily comics, but are comics related, comics adjacent. Some of these things are just things I couldn't fit into other videos. They kind of belonged in there and I spaced it or forgot. And just showing off things that by themselves would be a very short video. So I just kind of lump them all together and I call it the Academy Roundup. We're going to start off right now with Eerie Publications, The Bloody Card Set. These are very well-designed trading card series. It comes in this nice little box. I love this box. And these were designed by my friend Jason Willis. And he, I don't know, like a month ago, we did a trading cards episode, all about comics-related trading cards. And I needed some help on some research. There was these skateboard stickers from the 70s. I could not find out who drew them. And Jason's a whiz on the internet, as well as being a great graphic designer. And texted him. He totally found out, you know, his little cyber Sherlock, totally figured it out. I gave him a thanks, a tip of the hat on the video. And I mentioned his book that he designed. He did a nice coffee table book about Eerie Publications. And a few days later, he texts me back and says, hey, I did these trading cards. I designed Eerie Publications trading cards. Would you like some? And I was like, fuck yeah. And so it was perfect. It arrived right in my birthday week. A few days before my birthday, I opened the mail and Jason had sent these to me. And they're really nice. I like this first one, Carl Burgos art. It's a kind of silly almost. These start off pretty tame at first. And pretty quickly they get pretty gnarly. Like I said, Eerie Publications was a 70s black and white comics magazine publisher. I'm definitely trying to take a piece of the pie out of the Warren Empire. And but they didn't have much money. So, God, look at this. So they kind of went in another direction. They couldn't afford good artists, so they would just be more lurid and horrifying and kind of in poor taste. And than any other comics publisher. And kids loved it. Kids ate it up. Look at just how over the top this gore is. Oh, I love this cover. This woman dissolving in acid. And this hunchback dude almost looks like Bill Elder or something. He looks kind of silly. A lot of these are inadvertently funny. Like this one, for example. This guy looks like such a goon. And I think it's just they were inadvertently funny because a lot of these artists weren't the best artists, you know? Because they didn't pay. They paid nothing. Oh my God, look at this guy. He's like a were-walrus or something. Or a space walrus. That is just so nutty. But also so silly. I have no idea what's going on here. This guy's taking his own heart out. I love this one. This four-headed monster totally looks like something a teenager would doodle in his notebook during class. Just so, like, I don't know, 13-year-old primitive art. I can't believe these were on the newsstand. These were sold right next to, I don't know, Time Magazine and Sports Illustrated. They're just right there. And nobody made a fuss. It was the 70s. Oh, man, look at this. This woman being put in a meat grinder. Hey. I guess since these were, I should show off a little graphic design. This is what the backs of the cards look like for the most part. They tell you who drew it, the cover, date, and just a little tiny bit of information. Not very extensive. They got all the monsters. They have vampires, mummies, ghouls. No Chud, though. Too early for Chud. Frankenstein being beheaded. God, what's the story behind that cover, I wonder? I can't can't even fathom. They are also very salacious and lurid, you know. Lots of scantily clad buxom women being abused, chained up, bound. They did a few science fiction titles, and it looks like they're way more subdued, as you can see by the cover art. Trying to be a little classier, I guess. God, this looks like a classic pulp cover. SF Pulp. That's pretty nice. I like that one. That's a good cover without relying on shock value. And as the titles went on, as you can see, this illustration's way better. It's they're not as fun, but they started employing a lot of European artists like Spaniards and Italians, because those guys worked way cheaper, even though their level of illustration was like higher than most American cartoonists. That's why in the 70s, you know, Warren Publications had tons of Spanish artists. Obviously, all those Filipino artists who flooded the market in the 70s, the American market. Because even though the Eerie Publications was paying nothing, you know, scraping the bottom of the barrel as far as pay went, these European artists would work really cheap, even though they were really high quality. As opposed to this guy. Oh God, so many of these remind me of like teenage doodlings, you know, like in ballpoint pen or something. A lot of the most lurid of these is by a guy named Bill Alexander. He kind of set the aesthetics of this company, I think. There's definitely a certain type of art style that Eerie Publications had, which was kind of unique. You could tell these covers from a mile away. Oh man, look at this. I like how they all have like kind of eye-popping color too. They just really, I imagine these jumped out at the newsstand right at you, you know? God, this one's crazy. Let's see real quick who this is. Oscar Novell. I never heard of this guy. There's something really just disturbing about that. Just the art style itself. I definitely see some Graham Ingalls in there. But even more kind of disturbing. Oh my God. I don't know what this is. A macrocephalic Sasquatch. So goofy looking. Some more luridness. So in a little while, I'll show you that book that Jason designed about Eerie Publications. I give it a shout out on the show, but I didn't even tell the title. I felt bad, so I really wanted to do this episode just so I can, at the very least, tell you the exact title of the book so you can order it on Amazon, which I highly recommend. It's a really good book. But basically, I'm going in size order, so I don't have to keep zooming in and out. So I'm starting with the tiniest things, and that's why I'll show you the Eerie book, like, I don't know, in a little while. Not right now. Got the checklist card. And these last few cards is pretty nice. So I guess somebody found the original art, the original paintings of these. And the backs of the cards show it off without the logo. That's pretty cool. I imagine there's not, you know, most of these don't exist. There's that woman in acid again. I think they just clipped it out and zoomed, you know, made it bigger. That's just a really nightmarish image. That is so cool. If I had a heavy metal band, I would totally steal this art from my cover, from my album cover. More naked, the naked art. It's pretty nice. And there's the last one. And that's it from Eerie Publications for now. we'll talk about them more in 1 second. And so now I want to show off something that's just kind of a weird thing that I've had for like, I don't know, 30 years. And I just can't throw it away, even though it's not good. And it was kind of a head scratcher for years, but thankfully, due to the internet, I can now find out what the hell this is. So I've had this since 1987, roughly. That's when it came out. Marvel Comics presents Spider-Man. And has this nice Keith Pollard, Terry Austin cover. Pretty sharp art there. Kind of like it. Probably because of Terry Austin more than anything. But all this is a very kind of small... Here, I'll show you. Here's my hand. It's just a small little... almost like a digest-sized comic, but it's stapled. We have a little Doctor Strange's Mystic Maze here. And basically inside, all we find is a reprint of Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man. I believe it's 21. And, you know, this is just... if this was the normal comic, that issue, there's no way I would keep this in the Academy. It would have been kicked out a long time ago. This is total, typical, hacky Marvel work. Bill Mantlo writer, Jim Mooney and Mike Esposito penciler inker team. You know, this is kind of shitty. I'm not that great. But I gotta say, this format, I just love. And I almost think that, you know, your average dopey superhero comic back then, this would have been a great way to make comics really cheap, so little kids would have kept buying them. And actually, the art looks better. This kind of very simple, you know, dopey art looks a lot better when it's shrunk down like this. So, yeah, as you can see, all it is a reprint of this, your average crappy Marvel comic. It does look like Mike Esposito makes Jim Mooney look a little better than normal. And it was, looks like bargain basement John Romita. But I just love this. It's just cheap newsprint. And I've had it ever since then. And then what the internet told me is that it turns out this was a thing that Marvel was planning, where basically you would order this. A little pack of 20 would come, and you'd give them out at Halloween instead of candy. And I guess it didn't catch on. I think they did it for 2 years. And so they'd make these little comics, so when the trick-or-treaters came to your door, you could just give them a little comic book instead of giving them cavities. So this is a weird little thing I found on my shelf. I forgot I had this. Chris Cajero Cilla gave this to me, who did the cover, by the way. God, this cover's amazing. Look at this crazy, surreal shit going on here. Weird colors. So this is bound and gagged. And this is kind of a same size, pretty much. Very small. But it's square bound. A very nice little mini comic. Oh, yeah, the Cilla art continues. And it's basically edited and published by Tom Neely. And I guess, here's the explanation. What happens when you ask a bunch of cartoonists to do one-panel gag comics? And I guess what you get is bound and gagged. Really good cover. Really nice Tom Neely art here. And so, but it's kind of interesting, this, I should mention, this is John Porcellino. It's kind of interesting, a lot of these cartoonists are just like using the gag format, you know, a caption and art, but they're not trying to tell a gag. It's almost like a postmodern collection of gag strips where they're not funny, they're not meant to be, but it's using that format. Here's David King. And here's Austin English. This is his gag. Just this kind of, you can't even tell what this art is. And just someone saying hello. This is Chris Wright, who I've never heard of before. And I fucking love this guy's style. I want to hunt down this guy, find more work by him. This is really nice looking stuff. He has a bunch of gags in here. Next we have Sean Chang, who also has a very nice style, and I'm not familiar with his work. This is Andries Arp, a Portlandian, and Elijah Brubaker, another Portlandian. Just like the cover artist, Chris Cajero Cilla. There's a lot of Portlandians in here. This is J.T. Dockery. And this is Michael DeForge, note by note. There's a few of these in here. These were reprinted in that Very Casual book I looked at by Michael DeForge, which collects a lot of his early stuff. Like, this is not a gag at all. In fact, it's kind of disturbing. It's like art brute. I know I'm probably using that word wrong. Next we have the late lamented Dylan Williams. Rest in peace, Dylan. And his are very, like, not gags. They're just, like, almost like these little poems and just, like, evocative, strange art. Like, what? Oh, man, that is so creepy. The Little Girl from Family Circus. This is a guy named Levon Jahanian. And then next we have Iman Espy. This looks like a very fun style. I'd like to read more comics by this guy. And then this is a hard name to say. This is Julia Gaffroer, who I think still lives in Portland. And she was doing a lot of Wolverine gags for a while. She even put out like a fanzine collecting all of her Wolverine comics. And these are pretty funny and silly. This looks like a classic gag comic, gag panel. It looks like John Caldwell or something. So this is J.T. Dockery again. This is Chris Cajero Cilla again, doing a little Jim Davis knockoffs. Oh, God, that's great. I'm glad some of these guys still try to make funny gags. This is Noah Von Skeever, doing a little thing about the Baja Men. Tom Neely once again. The printing in this is really nice, as you can see. The colors are great. It's a nice little production. This is a guy from, I think he lived in Portland too. I have one of his comics. I think I picked it up at a local comic festival. His name's Kaz Strzepic. And he does this like kind of Dungeons and Dragons type comic. But he's got a really great style. I really like his style. But not as much as Jesse Redclaw, yet another Portland cartoonist. Man, that guy can draw. He's got chops. That's it. I didn't even notice this, how this is about the Minotaur and this is about the Minotaur. Then we have Anders Nilsson. And here we got Tim Root, late of Portland, now lives in the South. Oh, man. He's such a good artist. Great colors. The local paper here, back when they actually published every week, Tim Root worked for this coffee company, Stumptown Roasters, and the boss liked his art so much that he would basically just give Tim the weekly advertisement. It would barely advertise the company. It would just say Stumptown Roasters, and then Tim could draw anything he wanted. And it was just beautiful, full-colored little panels that were so good. It was such a nice thing to like get that free paper every week and, you know, flip over to Tim's newest cartoon. And next after that, we have Chris Cajero Cilla again. And then we have Scott Nobles. This is weird. It's like nice graphic design. That's all. It has nothing to do with the gag, really. And this is someone named Juliax. One word. Kind of neat. Looks like it's ballpoint pen on lined paper. Kind of groovy. And here we got Kaz, the real Kaz, the famous Kaz, Underworld Kaz. And then we have another Tom Neely. Man, he's got such a great classic animation type style. I really like his drawing. Josh Simmons. Look at this. Uncle Daddy's home has a bunch of burning horses in a pond. And then next we have Gabby Schultz. That's a good one. Another Portlandian, Theo Ellsworth. I don't know. Let me see who this is. Oh, this is a guy named Jason Overby. This is just kind of like, I don't know, modern art. It looks like multimedia stuff. Kind of interesting. Kind of cool looking. And then we have Mark Bell. And after Mark Bell, we have Zach Sally of, much fame. We looked at his recidivist mini comics a while back. Zach Sally kind of reminds me of Chris Cilla a lot, his art style. Here we get another Chris Wright one. Ah, man, he's really good. I really like this guy. A lot of these are basically non sequiturs. This is another Elijah Brubaker. And then we got a guy named Robert Gooden. Looks pretty nice. Another Michael DeForge one. What the hell is this? Yeah, there's something very disturbing about these. And very well done. Amazing stuff. And then we have Zach Sally again. And then Andrews Arp again. And Jesse Reclaw. Chris Wright again. Oh, man. Yeah, these make no sense, the captions. They're just like very dada. But I don't really care. This art's great. And then we got Matthew Thurber. JT Dockery again. Mark Bell, yet again. These are kind of sparse for Mark Bell. I kind of like this one. This is Sean Chang again. Yeah, I really got to get some more stuff by Sean Chang. I like his stuff. And then we got Andrew Sarp again. Dylan Williams doing another very cryptic one. I really like that. It's a great drawing. More Michael DeForge note by notes. God, that's really disturbing. Julia Gaffroer again. That's kind of clever. Instead of snicked, it's a panhandling Wolverine, skint. I went to one of the Portland comic conventions a few years back, maybe 10 years ago, and there was a hobo Wolverine there. And he was holding a sign that said, like, "We'll kill for food" or something. I thought that was kind of cute, kind of funny. Here we have Jesse Reclaw again. Tom Neely. I really like this classic cartooning and then just weird blotches of color. A lot of his gags do that. Here's Anders Nilsson again. He does a lot of this stuff, we'll just take a photo and then draw this simple guy in front of it. Not a big fan of Anders Nilsson stuff. I mean, God, this is lazy. That's all he drew, and it's not good. Here's Kaz again, Underworld Kaz. That's pretty good. Oh, and here's another beautiful Tim Root one. God, look how good Tim Root is, man. It's amazing. I wish he did more actual, like, comic book comics, you know, sequential narrative, if you will. Here's that Jason Overby again, being kind of arty again. But I really like it. This looks great to me. Not much substance, but pleasing to the eye. And after that, we have Juliax again. Theo Ellsworth. That Kaz, what's his name? Streptococcus? I can't remember how to say his name. Streptococcus. Anders Nilsson. And I believe that's, oh, this is Gabby Schultz again. Man, I gotta get some of her stuff. She's really good. Another Chris Cajero Cilla. This one's so great. It is a gag, but a gag that I don't think somebody would have to explain it to me. I don't really care, though. It's just hilarious looking. It just looks great. And Tim Root once again. These guys remind me of each other, too. And, you know, they're very good friends, so. Maybe they influenced each other. Next we have Ryan Standfast. Oh, this is nice, guys. They got Kim Deitch to do one. Oh, such a great one. A kangaroo boxing a robot. I would love if Kim Deitch turned this into like a 10-page story. That would probably be amazing. All these various animals in the crowd. I wish this was a little bigger, though. It's a little too small. Whoa. Is this that Overby guy again? Yep, it is. Jason Overby. Being both artsy and fartsy. But I really like it. Anders Nilsson again. God. That's so dull. Here's another Family Circus takeoff by Levon Jahanian. Oh, no, this is more like it. This is a nice Mark Bell one. Tom Neely. God, I love these little swaths of color he puts in. Really nice. Dylan Williams again. And then we have Austin English. Look at this one. It's just... He just dashed that off. And we get another Chris Wright. Really good find. I'm glad I looked at this again, because now I know to look for Chris Wright. List of contributors: Tom Neely art, more Tom Neely art in the end papers, and that's it for Bound and Gagged. Pretty nice little collection here. Okay, guys, I'm gonna adjust the zoom in here. I hope you don't get nauseous. That should be good. Let me adjust this. So today I wanted to show off two comics that my good friend James DiGiovanna sent me in the mail. These also arrived on my birthday week, so it was a good week for the mail during September 13th that week. But this is such an interesting comic. Batman is Lost in a Woods by David Enos, #1. I can't imagine there's a #2 of this. Like, it seems to be pretty self-contained. And I'm not familiar with David Enos, but I like him now. This was printed in 2016. It's beautifully printed. This I think it's silk screened or screen printed. I don't know what they call it, but really nice cardstock covers with these nice end papers. And something about the way they print it, you almost can see the texture of the art, which I think some of it's painted. So this guy just appropriated Batman for himself, but he uses it to tell the story that's kind of moving, very, very sad. And apparently Batman has gone missing. We find out that Batman has just been wandering around the woods and looking for his wife. His wife has been missing, sounds like for years. But something's wrong with Batman. He's not himself. In fact, he seems like someone suffering from dementia. Or maybe, and as the comic progresses, it seems like he's having full-on schizophrenic episodes. And part of this comic is very interesting because it almost, I don't know why I feel this way because I don't yet have dementia. I think I'm getting there. But it really seems to capture at least what I think dementia might feel like, where Batman just doesn't quite know what he's doing, doesn't know how long he's been out there in the woods, and he's just doing weird things. I like this. He finds a lady's shoe, a Shasta cola, and birth control pills in the woods. He's finding all these weird clues. When night falls, he makes his shelter by digging into the ground and making this little burrow, instead of just going back to his mansion or doing something less insane. So, like, obviously something's off with the Batman. Like, maybe he's had a head injury or something. And he's haunted by this, his missing wife. He wants to find her so bad. So obviously you can see the art's very crude, but also sometimes some of these panels, the lighting and molding, it's pretty amazing looking. He sees his wife. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a flashback to the last time he was with her. And Batman's fighting this monster. It's like a life or death battle. And his wife is just kind of bored. And when he's done, even though he's wounded, she's just kind of peeved. She's not happy that he's okay, that he's alive. She's just ticked off about something. And he says, "What's wrong?" And she says, "You always get to do the things you want to do. I don't even have any friends." And I love this how, I'm sure we've all been there, had this kind of weird argument with our partner where we didn't understand how they were feeling or vice versa. And it's really, it's so real, even though it's Batman and his wife. So now it seems like he's hallucinating more and more. He sees a hand coming out of the ground. He digs up the perfectly preserved body of Captain America. And he says, "I have to alert the authorities as soon as I get back to the house. And besides, it's really cold. I got to get back to my mansion." So he goes back to his mansion. He's looking at old wedding pictures. Superman and Captain America were at his wedding. And it seems like he's becoming more and more crazy. It seems like he's hallucinating more. So then he, following a strange hunch, he goes to this small town and rents a room in a motel, thinking that there'll be some clues there. The woman at the counter is very nice. And later on, they're talking, and she's just this very sweet woman. And she kind of flirts with him. And they start making out, and they hook up. After sex, she says, "What are you thinking about?" And of course, he's thinking about his wife. Man, these colors are really nice looking to me. I love this panel. The local authorities tell him that, a woman vanished several years ago, not far from the old bridge. So he goes underwater, finds a car with a corpse preserved by the salt content of the lake, but it's not her. But I'm pretty sure this whole thing is just, in Batman's head. Yeah, then this seems to be a total hallucination. He goes to this massage parlor, sex club. Just so weird. And then the Spectre shows up. And Batman says, you know everything. I need your help. What's going on? I just need somebody to tell me what's going on. And Spectre says, you don't remember? 7 years ago, you were divorced. She left you. A few months later, you were rescued by the Coast Guard, nearly drowned in the ocean. You must have been thrown into the water by an enemy. And he says, you mean this whole time she's been safe? She says, yeah, she married again. She's living outside the city. And Batman's just like, I don't understand. He just totally seems, like I think I've talked about this. My mom has dementia, and it just seems like he's like some sad old person with dementia. It's just befuddled by everything going on around him. We see another flashback to one of the final moments in their relationship when you can see the dissolution of their love. That's what this comic it really captures well. That's what I find so sad about it, is these little flashbacks. It really just seems to capture that. Just, it's so weird. Like, you can be so in love with someone, they can be so in love with you, and like sometimes 3 months later, it's all gone, and you're like, how did that happen? Where did that love go? And this kind of captures that. Oh, this is a sad scene. So there's this like memorial for Captain America, and Batman just starts rambling, starts talking about himself, starts talking about his wife and their love. When I was a younger man, I could whistle every tune. No melody escaped me. And when he's done, some guy in the crowd says, what kind of speech was that? We're here to honor the captain. It kind of reminds me of my dad's funeral. He's a longtime friend. He's a little bit of a blowhard, Al. And actually, Al just recently passed away. But at the time, he was very much alive. And he got up there to give a speech about my dad. And he just ended up talking about himself. It was kind of funny. And his kids had to kind of be like, Dad, cut it out. We're not here to hear about all your accomplishments. So just more random things. Batman sends a letter to his ex-wife. She never responded. It was probably lost in the mail. No, it wasn't, Batman. It probably got to her. Oh, man, look at that. When everything's going downhill and you don't know how to stop it. You have no clue. This is interesting. Design and layout by Spencer Hicks. I didn't know that earlier because the next comic we're looking at is written and drawn by Spencer Hicks. Just a really nice production all around. Oh, look at this great back cover. Nice stuff. This beautiful, solid, nice little mini. Really good stuff. So here's the other comic James sent me, and this is, I don't know how I feel about this comic. It's very odd, but I gotta say I was pretty enthralled by it. It's called Thunder Racers by Spencer Hicks, and it's kind of an interesting concept. I guess one day Spencer Hicks started watching Days of Thunder, the 90s Tom Cruise movie, but from the middle of the movie. He turned on the TV, it was starting. Then he had to do some stuff, and so he's barely paying attention to the TV. So this is Spencer Hicks doing Days of Thunder as remembered and imagined by him. So, it's very vague. It's just, it's the vagaries of memory. He's not quite sure exactly what happened. He doesn't even get the main character's name, the Tom Cruise character's name correctly. He doesn't care, though. That's not the point. And very interesting idea. Here's his explanation of how he made the comic. So as you can see, the art is very crude. I've never seen Spencer Hicks artwork before. I don't know if this is typical of it, but it's almost like he's going for this very slapdash, just getting these memories down, these kind of faulty memories down as quick as he can. And the way he remembers it / reimagines it are pretty funny. and pretty interesting. The weird thing about this is I've never seen Days of Thunder, and I have a feeling I'd appreciate this comic a lot more if I did. Because I don't know where it deviates. It was kind of fascinating in a way to read this, because I was just like, wait a second. Days of Thunder does this at the end? Like, even if it was 1/10 as weird as what Spencer Hicks is writing, it still seemed crazy for a major Hollywood movie. So it appears there's this race car driver. Let's just call him Tom Cruise. Tom. He doesn't even get his name right anyway. One of his best friends, who's a race car driver, has got this head injury, and it's pretty serious. And that's from the movie. Because what I did is I went to Wikipedia and I looked up the plot of Days of Thunder. And it was kind of fascinating seeing, like, oh, okay, the movie didn't do anything close to this. Tom Cruise falls in love with his doctor. They become lovers. There's this young upstart rival. Look at just crude this art is. So in the movie, apparently he does have a friend. Tom Cruise has a friend who does have brain damage from a car crash. But man, this guy spins it off into a way different direction. This one of Tom Cruise's like old coach, or whatever you call it in car racing, his pit manager or whatever. He picks up this prostitute and they fall in love and they become a couple. That's not in the movie. And then things get really weird. So the buddy with the brain damage, he basically absconds with his infant son, and he gets in a motorboat and starts driving around. And there's a big storm coming, so the wife's incredibly worried. I think he also has a gun, and he's been drinking. So she calls up Tom Cruise for help. There he is with the baby in a speedboat. And Tom and his girlfriend are over there consoling her. Tom's girlfriend says, I'll go out and get you a pack of cigarettes. And then as soon as she's gone, the wife hits on Tom Cruise. He gets on the ground and says, hurry, before my girlfriend gets back, sit on my face. And then the husband comes back. So I was reading this, and I was just like, wait a second, does even anything 1/10 as crazy as this, that's hard to believe that Days of Thunder goes in this direction, which it totally doesn't apparently. So this is when pretty much halfway through, Spencer Hicks goes off the rails and everything gets crazy, and it gets way more interesting too. This is kind of disturbing. The brain damaged husband is wielding his gun, he's threatening Tom Cruise and his wife, and being kind of creepy towards the baby. It's actually disturbing. All kinds of crazy, convoluted, insane plot twists. I like this. This makes me want to draw a comic. It's like, I think I could do something similar to this. Oh, this is just so nutty. I loved reading this because I actually was just like, it was like one of those crazy exploitation movies, where it's like, you have no idea where it's heading. There's no way you could guess. So I guess the rival comes over. He gets killed. Tom Cruise's girlfriend leaves him. And then the wife of the brain damaged friend says, grab the crib, Tom. I'm not staying here with this psycho. And so Tom and the wife leave with the baby. And they basically just become a couple. And they raise the baby together. And she just moves on with her life. And then his father, who's a musician, who's never been happy with his NASCAR career, calls him up and says, "Son, I'm really proud of you." And Tom cries a single tear. So odd. This is a very strange little comic. I kind of love this idea. I wish they'd have a whole series of different artists, interpreting movies badly, like just from their crappy memory. So we looked at Basil Wolverton last week. We looked at Spacehawk. And I want to show off this little thing I have by Basil Wolverton, Common Types of Barflies. And this was published in, I think, 1974. And it was published by Glenn Bray, the amazing comics collector and, also a underground cartoonist. And this is just nice. I assume Basil Wolverton did these gag cartoons for cocktail napkins because they're all based on, like, alcohol-themed humor. Oh, these are so good. I think these probably were drawn in the 60s. Maybe they were drawn in the 70s. It kind of looks like his Plop style when he was doing the covers for Plop. But these are just disturbingly weird. Makes me another eye opener. Pretty dumb gags. But, God, that's great. Yeah, I think this was published. These were drawn in the 70s. That looks like it could be older, but... Oh, man. Craziness. So weird that Basil Wolverton was this, like, I don't know, this kind of sweet, gentle Christian dude. That's great. Love that one. I love all these. These are all pretty amazing. God, look at that. I like how her hair looks like a waterfall there. A cascade. What's going on here? Schlong nose. Oh, such good stuff. I love that. I wonder if he just drew these for Glenn Bray. Like, he said, hey, let's put out a little mini release. Like, draw me 30, cool cartoons. It's a really nice little production. It's kind of like a fanzine. And, it's got this cardstock cover with that textured woven paper. Really nice little production. And speaking of Basil Wolverton, since we looked at Spacehawk, there's something I wanted to show off here. So, over the decades, little dribs and drabs of Spacehawk were released here and there, because I think they were in the public domain, even going as far back as the 80s. Dark Horse did a 6-issue miniseries, I believe in the early 90s. Let me double check on that. No, 1989 even. And this was one of the better ones, because they got the original comics and dropped the color out, and it looks pretty nice. Also, they did them all in order. And I don't think they reprinted all of them, because there's only 2 per issue, 3 at the most, and I don't think 6 issues could cover it. But I had 1 through 5. I'm getting rid of 3 through 5. These ones I'm keeping, though, and I'll tell you why. So Spacehawk number 1 here, this cover is a Basil Wolverton drawing of Spacehawk done in the 70s. I guess this appeared in very tiny form. It was like in an ad in the comic book price guide from like 1974 or something, which I think my brother had growing up. And actually, guys, let me just make this a little bigger, or zoom in a little to make sure you can see all of it. There you go. And but God, this looks great to me. They colored it really nice too. I like this. But it's so interesting seeing Basil Wolverton draw Spacehawk in the 70s. So this is a reason to keep it by itself. And these were taken from the collection of Glenn Bray. He's just like basically the Basil Wolverton expert. Oh, I'm sorry. This was from the 1979 comic book price guide, which my brother definitely had that. So I've seen that before, but I forgot. And this reprints the first two Spacehawk stories. Plus, it's got a new story, a new Spacehawk story, which we'll look at in a second. So I know when we looked at Spacehawk a week ago, I was oohing and eyeing over the colors, and they are pretty freaking amazing. But I gotta say, it's kind of nice having these in black and white, getting to see the amazing detail that Basil Wolverton puts in. So I don't know, it's kind of nice. It's not like I want the whole book in black and white and a whole other book, but I figure the Academy can squeeze 2 extra comics in onto the shelves. It's not gonna break us. And also just for that cover alone. Just want to show you guys what it looks like in black and white, even though this is how we've seen Spacehawk forever. It was actually a novelty to finally see it in color. But this does look really nice. Okay, this is so... They got Guy Davis. Guy Davis did a lot of stuff for Dark Horse. I can't remember the name of his titles. Lots of sci-fi stuff. They got him to draw these new Spacehawk stories. And this one's really interesting because it's Spacehawk versus the Brain Bats of Venus, which is Basil Wolverton's famous horror story from the 50s. So it's almost like they're creating this Wolverton verse where, like, I don't know, maybe they're going to meet Powerhouse Pepper in the next issue, or Sammy Saucer will show up. But I love that concept of a Spacehawk meeting the Brain Bats. As you can see, he really captures a lot. He has such a different style than Basil Wolverton, but he also captures a lot of stuff of Wolverton. The more subtle things, like look at the clunky machinery here, and look at the myriad of lines here to show the sky. That's very Basil Wolverton. He even uses that first helmet that Spacehawk appeared in. Look at that. So I think, yeah, these are great. I think Guy Davis, I would love if he did more Spacehawk stories. I don't think many people could capture the weirdness of the originals. It's interesting, though, how subdued his style is. It's not goofy. Spacehawk doesn't look heroic. He's not all barrel-chested. He just looks like a dude you would know. I guess the kids call it he has dad bod. So Spacehawk gets a distress call. He goes to this planet to see what's going on. And this woman is possessed by a brain bat. And we see all these other brain bats. They basically can control your mind, brain bats, in the original story. Spacehawk tries to fight him off, but one of them gets on his head and takes over Spacehawk. That's great stuff. Of course, Spacehawk figures out something with his willpower and defeats the brain bats. I like these panels of the brain bats fighting. Well, one is controlled by Spacehawk. And Spacehawk saves the day and kills all the brain bats. Pretty nice. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to keep that one. And this one, this is the only Spacehawk cover ever. It was on an issue of Target. Spacehawk was only the cover feature just once in his 3-year career. So they mentioned that there's a color dropout on these. So I guess they borrowed Glenn Bray's comics. He had the originals. And I don't know how they did this, because this is 1989, right? Before computers were that sophisticated. It looks great. This is nice. They give you little tidbits of information about Basil Wolverton. Once again, I'll just flip through this quick to show you how nice the work looks in black and white. Yeah, these first few Spacehawk stories are pretty gold. Look at that in black and white. That's pretty impressive. Still can't tell if that's a photo or not. I think it is. Okay, so we got another Guy Davis story. And this is fun because it's a sequel to that story where Spacehawk's police friend, I think his name's Dak, Spacehawk, to save his life, he had to put his brain in this hornosaur, this weird alien dinosaur. And this continues the story. So it's from the hornosaur's point of view. But I guess it didn't work out quite as planned. No, his brain is in the hornosaur, but the hornosaur's brain is still in there. There's two brains. And the hornosaur brain controls all of the movements of the body and is kind of ruled by his urges, just like a dumb dinosaur. So it kind of sucks to be this guy because his brain is trapped in this body that he can't quite control. God, it really captures the wonkiness of Wolverton, even though it's such a different style. So this poor guy, it's like, he can think like a human, but sometimes when he's hungry, the hornosaur brain will just be like, start running, start chasing after this thing. And he doesn't even want to, but he can't control it. Another great panel. I love these creatures. They're the pygmy men of this planet. And they poison the hornosaur. And he passes out, and they capture him. Meanwhile, we see Spacehawk. Oh, man, look at this alien flora here with all these pygmies hiding. That's another great panel. And then the pygmies capture Spacehawk, take him to an arena, and he's got to fight the hornosaur. And I guess the hornosaur can't control himself. He's like, I'm hungry. Even though he recognizes that it's his friend Spacehawk, the other brain in him is just saying, kill, eat. And Spacehawk wins the fight. And somehow, they don't really show us how, he gets the brain of Dak onto his spaceship. Oh, I think they said if you win, we'll set you free. And he puts Dak's brain in this, jar. And he says, you're fine now, Dak. He says, first you put my brain in that beast, and now in this, you say I'm fine? And just Spacehawk's totally clueless. He says, oh, don't worry, I'll make you a robot body soon. But it's kind of interesting, the last caption. Dak's previous body and its secondary brain are gone, but he still feels the same urge. This one would have tasted so good. That's a really good story. I like that one. And so that's it for these Spacehawk reprints. This next one's just a very curious little thing. I don't get this at all. So this comic's been on my shelf for 20 years. I was like, oh, this is a great little anthology. It's got Patrick McEwen, Jay Stevens, Dave Cooper, Sergio Aragonés. What's not to like, right? And nice cover by Sergio Aragonés, by the way. And so about a year ago, we looked at this comic book anthology from Dark Horse called Scatterbrain, which was a collection of the 4-issue miniseries Scatterbrain. So I start reading this guff. I was going to do a video on it. And as I'm reading it, except for this first story by Sergio Aragonés, I realize, wait, all of these stories are from Scatterbrain. And this is published right around the same time. So I don't understand why they would take those stories out of one series and reprint them in here. This one, though, is not in Scatterbrain, so this is new to me. Timoteo by Aragonés. And, this is almost like an extended Sergio Aragonés marginal cartoon from Mad Magazine. Basically, it's about this kid who goes around everywhere and he keeps farting. And everyone keeps running away from him. Very loudly farting. So he goes to this phone store, and he realizes we find out it's his phone ringer. His phone ringer goes instead of ring. So the guy changes it, so he's all happy. But then the joke is that apparently he's still doing silent but deadly ones because everyone's nose is wrinkling when he walks by. Pretty silly, but it's nice Sergio Aragonés stuff. So this is the Scatterbrain. I thought I was like kind of going crazy. I was like, wait, didn't I just read this same comic a few months ago? Jay Stevens, this is from Scatterbrain. And the Patrick McEwen. So I'm just like, what's going on? I don't understand this comic at all. So what happens is then it's a flip book. When I flipped it, this is the other cover. And this is a beautiful John Pound cover. Included at no extra cost, Meanie Babies trading card, which I found in the comic. I'll bring this up a little. So I guess Dark Horse was trying to steal some of the Garbage Pail Kids' thunder. Except these were cute little animals, but all kind of, twisted and weird. Cyclone. These Siamese twin sheep. I'm sorry. I think you're not supposed to say that anymore. Conjoined twin. But really nice cover. And I guess... So, I'm sorry. Not I guess, but... So what we have in here is a nice new 3-page story with beautiful John Pound art. And he also, of course, does the cover and the trading card art. John Pound painted most of those Garbage Pail Kids. So they actually got the guy who did Garbage Pail Kids to do theirs. I don't know if Dark Horse ever put out like more trading cards for Meanie Babies. But they were obviously pushing it with this comic. So this is Jay Lynch writes this, the great underground cartoonist, Nard and Pat fame, and beautiful funny animal art by John Pound. I love when John Pound does funny animal stuff. Just such a great, clean style. This is Hippie the Hippo. It's not that good, but I mean, I think it's meant for kids. So the humor is, But look at this classic, great underground style cartooning. He beats this rhino who's all into piercings. Kind of a great character design, kind of weird looking. And that's it, just basically a goofy gag. So I don't know if anybody knows about this. Please tell me in the comments. It's such a weird... I don't know why Dark Horse did it. Okay, let's move on. Oh, these are really nice, guys. These are, let me see if I have to embiggen a little. Yeah, that's probably fine. So these are like kind of 2 chapbooks. I think they were published maybe in the 80s or 90s. And they're Charles Bukowski short stories, beautifully illustrated by R. Crumb. And they were published by Black Sparrow Press. And I think Black Sparrow mostly does poetry. But they'd probably do some fiction too. I'm sorry, these are 2001 and 2002. So, I don't know much about Bukowski. I've read maybe 1 or 2 short stories from Arcade Magazine. They published some of his stories. But I like these. He's very cynical, very booze-drenched stories. God, Crumb goes to town on these illustrations. He really obviously loves this work. And you can tell he's really, this is a passion project of his. Oh, so it says Illustrations and Story, 1983. So this must be a reprint. Bring Me Your Love is the first one. I love this drawing. Woman punching herself in the face. Oh, look, this is amazing. The shading in that. And these are just printed really nice, just like nice paper. Just a very nice production all around. And there's no business. God, look at the graphic design of this. That is incredible. If our Crumb wanted to sell out, man, he could have made so much money just being a graphic designer. I mean, he's obviously this amazing illustrator. But his graphic design is great. I love this pink paper. Once again, beautiful graphics. This one's about some kind of comedian, Manny Hyman. He's on basically the bottom rung of the entertainment industry. He's pretty old. He never really had any success. Fuck, look at that guy's amazing stuff. And he kind of just works like casinos and dinner theaters and really small casinos too. Oh, that's amazing. So good. So I don't know. These look like they're pretty hard to find. Maybe they're not though, but they're definitely worth having. Just for these amazing Crumb illustrations. And the stories are really good. So here's the Eerie book, The Worst of Eerie Publications, guys. That's the title. If you want to find it on Amazon, I'm sure it's available for sale. So, oh, there's that great guy. We saw that on the card. So this is Mike Howlett wrote it, and he got Jason to design it all. Really nice book. Jason does a great job. He has this like kind of matte embossed, slick cover. Great logos and everything. Let's crack this open. Oh, I love this shininess here. Look at that. That's pretty incredible. So there we see the title page. It says produced by Jason Willis. So I think Jason did more than just design it. We have an introduction by Craig Yo, who I think edited this book. Oh no, he didn't. He just does the introduction. And this gives you a little history. Well, not much of a history, but a little backdrop about these Eerie Publications. So, this was the owner of Eerie, Myron Fass. Apparently, he used to walk around with a gun in his belt all the time, like in The Office. He sounds like a real character. But, oh, so here's the real, like, kind of a little mini history of the comic company. And I guess Myron Fass was a publisher in the Golden Age. So he owned all of these old stories, these Golden Age comics. He owned the rights to them. So when he started Eerie Publications, almost all of the interiors of Eerie are reprints. These pre-code horror comics. But then, just to show even less respect to the comics field, he would just draw over them, make them more gory. It's such a weird idea. So I guess to make them more sellable to the 70s kids, you know? Got Chick Stone, Dick Ayers. Some of the old timers worked for Eerie. The ones who couldn't get jobs anymore at Marvel and DC. So some of them were redrawn, but basically he never had to pay for a writer. He had all these old comics, all these old horror stories. Either he'd have them redrawn totally or just touched up and made more gory. Look at this guy's eyes popping out. I'm pretty sure that wasn't in the original. So this is art by Ezra Jackson. This is really nice. They tell you, you know, where they reprinted it from. So, and almost all of these are from pre-code horror from the early 50s. Kind of looks like Jack Kamen. I'm pretty sure that wasn't in the original. Wasn't in the original. Oh, it's nice seeing these big. I love those trading cards, but it's nice seeing them big. So this one, you guys should look it up on the internet. I think it might be jasonwillis.com. Jason is also a film producer and director. And he animated this story. Very limited animation, but he added this amazing soundtrack. He got actors to do the voices. And it's a really cool little 5-minute film. Check it out, guys. If I'm wrong about jasonwillis.com, just look up Bloodbath, Eerie Publications, Jason Willis. Hopefully it'll come up. And this one, so this is one that isn't a reprint, and it's about taking acid. Art by Chick Stone. Oh my God. And this is, of course, you know, a total crazy story about, oh, if you take acid, you're going to murder everyone. You're going to become a murderer. Look at this gruesomeness. The guy chops off his own hand. This is art by the Iger Shop. This looks pretty damn nice to me. This is some good looking art. Another reprint. Dick Ayers. Antonio Reynoso. So this is one of the newly drawn ones over an old script. I imagine this is one of the European artists. Kind of interesting, but still very crude. Definitely a unique style. Oscar Fraga. Redrawing another old comic. I love this one. Look at this silly cactus. This looks like something Bob Burden would come up with. This monster cactus. But he looks like he's smiling. He's kind of cute. This is also art by the Iger Shop. So silly. The Skin Rippers, art by Martha Barnes. So this is a redrawn one. You can tell by the style, very 70s looking. This Martha Barnes isn't half bad. Carl Burgos. Walter Cassaday. This is pretty tame art, but then they just add this guy with his eye popped out to make it gory. Larry Warame. Yeah, I think most of these artists never did anything else again. Probably most comic companies wouldn't hire him. Even though, to be honest, this isn't half bad. I mean, as good as some of the stuff in House of Secrets or whatever. Cirilo Munoz. Oscar Stepanich. This page now. That's good. Domingo Mandrafina. Man, never heard of any of these guys. There's that cover I love. The Iger Shop. So this is just a reprint where they just added some gore. I love this guy. Kind of impish looking. And this is pretty great pre-code art. Love that. Chick Stone again. Alberto Macagno. Or maybe it's Macagno. That sounds Italian. The Iger Shop again. All these Iger shops look like totally different artists because, you know, it's a shop, I guess. Look at these guys with the tiny heads. That's pretty funny. Very silly. Ruben Marchione. Kind of like all the wash. Is that what they call it? Whatever, ink wash. Kind of neat looking. Dick Ayers. Oh, my God, look at this. That's gruesome. Yeah, it's weird. They got all these old timers to draw this really gnarly shit. They must have been desperate for money. Oscar Fraga. Robot Woman. Stay away from me. Larry Warame again. God. Very weird style. Looks like these guys could have drawn for Charlton, too. I think these guys were even like one step below Charlton as far as how shoddy they were. But very beloved, undeniable. Carl Burgos. And here's an ad for the actual, this is the book that's all about Eerie Publications, you know, tells the whole story. And I think Jason designed this as well. Not sure about that, though. God, I love this choice of this mirror-like black paper. Oh, that's really nice looking. Good work, Willis. Good work. And so there's that. And then there's one more thing I wanted to show off. We did an episode all about Marvel calendars maybe a week or two ago. And then I realized I have other calendars that are comic related, not Marvel. But I wanted to show them off. Let me, I have to do something real quick, guys. It says I have a low battery. Let me get rid of that warning thing. And then I'll zoom down. I think that's as far as it goes. So we'll show off as much as we can. Oh, actually, before I do, I almost forgot to show this off. I wanted to show off the only lunchbox I have from my childhood. It's the Marvel Comics Superheroes lunchbox. And I love this, how it's all raised up, you know. How lunchboxes used to do that. And I really loved this as a kid because I was already, you know, this came out in 76. I was already a total comic book fanatic. And, you know, they have the heavy hitters. But then they have, like... Okay, there's the Hulk. I think that's Starlin. And then they had, like, Scarlet Witch, Yellow Jacket. None of my friends knew who they were. They weren't household names, you know? So I thought that was really cool. Like, ooh, they really know the Marvel Universe. And then here's Hawkeye. I wonder if you can, I hope you can see that. The Vision and the Wasp. We got the Fantastic Four on the back. And then on the bottom, we got Iron Man and Falcon. I don't think the thermos is in here. There was a thermos at some point. Oh, God, that's disgusting. There's like spider webs in there and shit. So I just wanted to show that off. Okay, so we're going to just look at a few calendars real quick. Sorry this episode's so long, guys, but I really wanted to show off all this stuff. So this is the Robert Williams Zombie Calendar, 1994. And this is just really nice because you just get to see all these great Robert Williams paintings. So let me get this in frame. So just great stuff. This calendar is actually kind of fun because it looks like Robert Williams personally picked some of these dates where they have basically all of these birthdays of kind of counterculture heroes, you know, like J.R.R. Tolkien, Syd Barrett, Huey Piano Smith. And they'll have weird dates like U.S. Space Shuttle Challenger explodes, 1986. Colette born, CIA established. And then in some of these, they have the little rough sketches for the paintings, which I really like that. But let's just stick to the paintings. Okay, let me get this in. I love Robert Williams stuff. I really like how it just each one like it's like a short story almost, you know. Very narrative painting. That's great. So every I don't know, every 7 or 9 years I use this calendar. I love this. It's like a Robert Williams heaven. A naked woman riding a pizza. Who am I kidding? That's my heaven. That's an odd one. Nice stuff. One day I'll show off. I got a really nice Robert Williams book. Like it's a coffee table book. Lots of his comics. Lots of his paintings. So one day soon, I promise I'll show that off. Next we have the Zap Comics. This is the one I'm using right now. It works for this year. And this one's pretty simple. It's just all the Zap Comics covers. Well, not all of them. Actually, at the time, it might have been all of them. I don't know. Let me get this in frame. This is just nice because most of these covers were pretty damn good. Robert Williams. S. Clay Wilson. Spain Rodriguez. Rick Griffin. That's a great one. Rick Griffin again. I really love that one. That's one of my favorite Zap covers. Gilbert Shelton. Robert Williams. And our Crumb, of course. So there's that one. And then I had a bunch of these. I was getting these every year for a while. Frank Frazetta. And, this is pretty simple. Just beautiful Frank Frazetta paintings. But it's such a big calendar. It's like getting basically 12 mini posters, Nice biographical page here. I love this photo of young Frank posing for himself. He was his own artist model. I guess he was a pretty buff guy, so all those barbarians in his paintings, that's Frank Frazetta. He didn't have to hire some guy. So you've probably seen these all before, but this is the biggest I own them. I have all those Ballantine trade paperbacks from the late 70s of Frazetta. I used to love looking at those over and over. And also for this reason. Frank Frazetta was like the only guy who drew women the way I liked them. It seems like most women in like Playboy and in TV and movies, they were kind of scrawny. But he would draw these voluptuous women. This is before I discovered our Crumb art. So I was very impressed with these paintings, to say the least. I think this was for Veronica Comics. Oh, there's the classic Molly Hatchet album cover. Flirting with Disaster. And Genghis Khan. So these are just so nice to have. It's just like kind of an amazing little tiny art book. I kind of wish I had Frazetta even bigger. Here's the 2005 one. They do the same bio page. They just reprinted it. These don't have any interesting dates in them. Oh, I just realized one of these is ripped out. Oh, wow, a bunch of them are ripped out. Sorry. It starts in April. Oh, no, it actually starts in May. John Carter, Warlord of Mars. I loved this shit as a kid. I was really into that stuff. Fire and Ice movie poster. Yeah, all of these are such iconic images. This one I don't remember from childhood. Yeah, these are more like mid to late 80s. Oh, this one's so classic. Beautiful. And then we have the 2006 calendar where they changed the size, unfortunately. Still pretty nice big reproductions of Frank Frazetta. Well, I'm sorry, they're just as big, except there's the fold here. I think that's a Deja Thoris. Oh God, this stuff is so good. I think Frazetta is the best artist of the 20th century. I hope his name lives on way longer than like Andy Warhol. That was the cover of Questar magazine. I think my brother had that growing up. Whoa, look at this. Full on. That's nice. See, look at the way he draws women's bodies. Just, nobody else was really drawing women like that. And men's butts. Guy's got a great butt. Here's Deja Thoris again. I think that's Deja Thoris. Oh no, this is just Egyptian Queen. It was a cover of Eerie. Oh, so I didn't even notice, but they do have nice little information about all the paintings on the bottom here. Famous Conan one. God, I love that one. So there you go, guys. The latest Academy Roundup. Sorry I went on for so long. Wow, it's an hour and 25-minute video. But I hope you enjoyed it, looking at all this various and sundry stuff. I'll get out of your hair. Hopefully I'll see you soon here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.